You're watching us live. You're watching us live here at Humanist TV Africa. We want to welcome you at Humanist TV Africa. My name is Katum Kasa. In the studio is our producer Dennis Bongole, and of course, as usual, every Sunday we are honored to have Pastor Moses Solomon Malay always with us here to educate us on a number of issues. Today, we continue to talk about cults in Uganda, in Africa, and in the world, and we're looking at the impact of these cults. Remember, Pastor Mal has been able to define what these cults are. Today, of course, this is our show, The Bitter Truth, Understanding Cults with Pastor Moses Solomon Malay. I want to welcome Pastor Moses Solomon Malay right in the studios. You are most welcome, Pastor Moses Solomon Malay.
Thank you very much, my brother. It's a pleasure once again to be on this show. It's been quite a while. A week is a very long time, as you know. Our brothers in the road
Yeah, Pastor Malay right there speaking to us, and we have some technical glitch. We shall be continuing with him in a minute. We continue on our series of understanding cults and discussing them, defining what a cult is, giving you the signs of cults, and of course, enabling you to understand how cult leaders work in Africa. And of course, in the studio is Pastor Moses Solomon Malay. As you can see him right there on your screen. Remember, this is a live broadcast, and sometimes we are challenged by the internet. We are challenged by the connectivity of the internet, but definitely we are having Pastor Moses Solomon Malay right live in the studios of Humanist TV Africa. Today, we continue to discuss what are cults. Remember, Pastor Malay has been able to define what cults are and has been able to give us examples of how these cults operate in Africa. We have been seeing images of pastors in Nigeria, pastors in Kenya, pastors in Uganda, pastors in the USA, pastors in other parts of the world. Pastor Malay has been able to tell us what are cults. Remember, Pastor Malay was part of these cult leaders, was part of a church that is so big in Uganda, and was able to see the inside and out of cults in Uganda. But of course, he's a well-traveled person and well-read. He's able to share with us what are the signs of these cults, what these pastors do to defraud their people, especially in Africa. Right there, we see some of the images of what Pastor Malay continues to talk about pastors in Africa that have amassed lots of wealth out of cheating the gullible people that continue to go into these churches. So we are discussing cults in Africa. And of course, our lead discussant, our lead educator, our lead panelist is Pastor Moses Solomon Malay. He has been able to take us through a number of churches, through a number of techniques these pastors use to cheat people, especially in Africa, hoodwinking them, stage managing miracles, performing lots of weirdos. Of course, talking about even resurrecting the dead people, are claiming to give people opportunities to work, miracles that actually don't exist, to the extent that these people actually have been able to hoodwink people to the extent of marrying negative people with positively affected people. You know, you get HIV people, marry them with people who are not HIV positive. So these pastors, as Pastor Man has been able to tell us, have done lots of harm. The question I've been asking is, how can it be possible for such churches to exist in Uganda, to exist in much of Africa, to operate in the world without the political elites intervening in stopping this kind of malady, this kind of a problem happening in Africa? Here we see examples of cults, Jim John cult, which killed so many people right there, and we see even U.S. congressman who was a victim of this cult. right there. We see so many other cults have been able to talk about the Chiwetere cult in Uganda, the recent cult in Kenya, where people were killed in their hundreds. Pastor Man has been able to give us deep insights of how these cults work. He was a pastor with Kakanda Ministry, was able to tell us what happened there. He was able to discuss with us the Chiwetere Inferno, the cult that killed thousands of people in Uganda. People were burned alive in these churches. You can see in those images right there. Pastor Malek was able to take us through all these signs of cults. Here they were trying to uh, 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 excavate, dig out the bodies of people buried in mass graves in Uganda. Pastors have been hoodwinking people, telling them lies, stealing from them, taking their money, taking their property, and of course, taking their lives. That was the Kiwetere cults in Kanungu, a cult in Kanungu that killed thousands of people in a space of about 10 years. Up to date, we have never got a report to tell us what happened to this murderer, Kiwetere, Kodonia Kamwelinde, and others, suspects out there on the loose. We don't know what happened to them because government never gave us a definite report on this cult. We don't know exactly how many people were killed, and we don't know where the culprits are because somehow they vanished. So we see cults like this where thousands of people were killed, buried alive in a space of 10 years, but also other hundreds were burned in a single day in a church where they were being told it was the end of the world, end times, and they are going to heaven. They were put in a church. It was locked and it was put on fire. These are the people behind the cult, Tibetan and other associates who were ministering in Kanungu district, which is in western Uganda. So we have seen these cults killing people. We have seen Pastor Paul Mackenzie of Kenya, who killed other hundreds of people just last year. This Pastor Paul Mackenzie of Kenya are killing hundreds of people right there in Kenya, had a television station, had a mega church, had a big ranch where people could go and worship. He made people starve to death. He made people starve to death. That was a Pastor Mackenzie, Paul Mackenzie, right there in Kenya. And that incident remains live in our memories as people were killed just last year. And it has gone on and on. We see bodies getting excavated, getting removed from wherever they were killed from, and people were forced to starve to death. This is one of the methods of cults operating. They obsessively get into people's psyche. Psychologically, people are prisoners. We call it mental slavery. People are prisoners to the pastor. They accept whatever the pastor tells them. They cannot question things. And this is some of the reasons why Africa remains to be in the state in which we are, because people spend so much time in the region. People spend so much time in churches. They spend so much time in mosques. You can't imagine in Africa, people spend much of their time in night prayers, much of their time in lunch prayers. They are praying every time. You don't see these prayers in Europe. You don't see these prayers in the US. You don't see these prayers in Asia, but you see these prayers in Africa. You can imagine that tunnel there is a dirty one, the Nachivo channel right in Kampala. But a pastor, Pastor Kakanda, actually made a medical doctor to go and pick water from that channel and take it to church, and people drank the water. That is Pastor Kakande. Made a medical doctor go pick that dirty water, take it to church, and he spits into that water. Pastor Kakande spits into that dirty water, which is in a jerrycan, and people in the church take it. Now, if a pastor can make people, including a medical doctor, take diseased water and claiming it is going to be pure in Jesus' name, it means people being taken for a ride in Uganda, including medical doctors, including lawyers. People are educated but don't understand critical thinking. They don't reason beyond what pastors, what clerics say. We have seen sheikhs, we have seen imams, basically through radicalism, turning young people into murderers, into suicide bombers. They are killing others in the name of Allah. We know that people use the religion, use their gods to commit atrocities. So Pastor Malay, over the years, has been at it in Uganda, educating people about the dangers of cults. That's why we have him here. We have been teaching people about the dangers of cults, not only in churches, but also political cults. Pastor Malay sometimes talks about politics and he educates us about how dangerous it is to follow the politics of cults. So right there, it's Pastor Malay back into the studio and we shall give him the microphone to continue with the show. Most welcome, Pastor Malay. As you adjust your screen, Pastor Malay, it is in a vertical position. We need you to adjust your screen to be in the landscape mode, and we can be able to continue with our viewers. So I was giving you a recap of what we have been covering in the last 3 episodes. Today is episode number 4 on cults, basically defining the cults and giving the signs of these cults, but also you want to give a way forward in this discussion of cults. Yes, Pastor Malay, please continue if you can hear me. People are waiting for you. That is Pastor Malay right there. Pastor Malay will be back in the studio. We have challenges of connectivity, but he will be with us. We continue to talk about cults, giving a summary of what Pastor Malay has been able to cover in the previous episode. I told you that cults is a big thing. It's not only into a religion, it can be into politics. We have seen political cults in Africa, people worshipping politicians to the extent of not see the mistakes politicians do, it becomes a cult. So Pastor Malay was able to define exactly what are cults. Today, we'll continue with that discussion. Of course, we shall continue to show you the images of what we have been talking about, to continue showing the images, to give you a recap, to give you a summary of the show. We are talking about a pastor that confuses a medical doctor, and he convinces a medical doctor to go and pick water into that drainage system that is so dirty, so diseased, and then he takes that water to a church, and then people take that water in a church. And these people, including lawyers, including medical doctors, including professionals, elites that cannot think beyond what a pastor says. And to make matters worse, these pastors, in fact, are not even well educated. They are not well educated. They are semi-literates. But these pastors command so much respect that even the educated ones we have in Africa still respect them, still do things. People like Bugingo, people are not even educated enough, command respect, speak things that the educated ones follow without questioning. Now, Human City Africa is right there to question the things people believe in, the things people do. We don't criticize these people, but we simply question what they do. Are they doing things the right way? Are these pastors on the right track? Or are they simply amassing wealth using the ignorance of the people? We have talked about pastors in Nigeria that are so rich. When you Google the most rich pastors in the world, if you search for the 10 most rich pastors in the world, you are going to see that 5 of them are from Nigeria. 5 of these pastors are from Nigeria, most rich. They have private jets. They fly privately. They have mansions, they have schools, they have corporations, they have empires they have built. But look at Nigeria, a country with over 200 million people. Half of Nigerians, that is over 100 million Nigerians, live in abject poverty. They cannot even earn $1 a day. They cannot earn $1 a day. Over 100 million Nigerians cannot earn $1 a day, one single day a day. But these people are able to raise money to make pastors like this man here so rich. They are able to raise money and make these pastors too rich. So when you come here to Atlantic City, Africa, we show you the atrocities of these people. We show you the things they do, and they go away with it. We are talking about the pastor who basically was even raping people right inside the church, scamming them, raping them, abducting them. This pastor like TB Joshua, for example, he has been into the news for the wrong thing they've done. TB Joshua has been in the news for the wrong things he did over the years. There are stories to say he died. There are stories to say he is disguising. Maybe he didn't even die. People have been having so many stories about him. But we say that in his ministry that lasted for a number of years, this pastor basically was a scammer, was faking miracles. After his death, after his disappearance, people saying, no, Pastor TB Joshua was not a true pastor, was not an honest man, was stage managing miracles. But people come out to speak when the man is dead. So we ask a question, where were they to speak when this man was alive? So when we come here during this program to show you these things, we are simply warning you so that you don't be taken advantage of. Pastor TB Joshua took advantage of the gullibility of the people of the world. People left the UK, people left wherever they were to go to Nigeria in the name of seeking miracles. The man had a ministry that was serving the entire world. He had a TV station that was serving the entire world. Now, upon his death, people are coming out to say, look, he cheated me. Look, he raped me. Look, he made me prisoner. Why were they silent when this man was alive? It shows you the power of cults. When a cult leader is occupying his space, it is very difficult to deflate it. It's very difficult to alert people that you are being taken for granted. Until these pastors sometimes die or get into problems with the government, this is when we see people coming out and getting supported. But sometimes it's too late. Now, people that were scammed by this pastor, TB Joshua, cannot be helped because the man is dead or the man disappeared. So we want to use this program to alert people that, look, in Uganda, we are seeing signs of cults. We are seeing signs of rogue pastors. And we want to warn you to go there at your own risk, to go to these pastors at your own risk, to trust them with their children at your own risk, because Pastor Malik has been here to warn you over the years, to tell you that, look, these pastors are not who they are. In Nigeria, I told you that over 10 pastors in Nigeria basically own private jets. They own private jets. They are so rich. They are the richest pastors in the world. As you can see some of them right there on your screen. So we are here to warn you that, look, we want to warn you against trusting this pastor. They fly private jet. How can a pastor who says the man of God, who says the Bible tells him to talk with the poor, why should he live a luxurious life? They travel private jets. They own private jets. They own mansions. They travel with their children, their wives, And to make matters worse, the poor people give them money, remain poor when the pastors continue to become richer and richer. We have not seen a sheikh in Africa that is richer. We have not seen a mufti in Africa that is richer, but we have seen pastors in Africa that are far way too rich. That's why we spend time here talking about pastors because it is them that have taken so much advantage of their sheep. Look at these pastors right here. They travel in fuel guzzlers, very expensive cars. They live a flamboyant life. These are pastors that are kissed, by their followers, pastors that walk on carpets, you know. These are pastors in Uganda. We can mention names. Unless we can show the photos of these pastors to have a look at them. These are pastors that actually are worshipped. They sit on gold, they flash money, they make parties, they're so luxurious. In fact, they don't even pay taxes. As you can see, their wives flout money, show wealth. Their wives sleep on money and show it on social media. Now, if a wife of a pastor can even come out on social media to show how much money they have, it means they have much money. Now, if these pastors have become con artists, our role is to show you that look, open your eyes, shine your eyes. These pastors are taking it for granted. We may not mention their names, but you can see their images. You can see their images, and you decide for yourself. They will tell you every Sunday, they'll tell you, please, give us money, give us money. God loves your money. God loves your money. Build a church for God. I mean, every Sunday they ask for money. But when you dig deeper into these pastors, look what Begin God's Church, for example. Look at where people study. Look at where people actually go to worship from. And then you're going to compare with his own home. Then you see there's a big problem. People study, people go to worship in a crowd of a church, very dirty environment, but they continue to give this money. And look at his mansion, honestly. Look at how the pastor sleeps. His mansion, his state-of-the-art car, and then look at where people worship from. So in contrast, compare and contrast. Look at where people go to worship, and then so look at where where the pastor sleeps, and in comparison to where the people go to worship. Thank you so much, Dennis. So it gives you an impression how cults work. People don't ask questions. That a pastor is going to dump his legally married wife. I repeat the word legally married wife. A pastor who's legally married, we should expect this pastor to live to the dictates of the Bible. The Bible says no divorce. That's their Bible. If you are legally married, keep with one woman. That is what Christianity teaches anyway. But a pastor is going to abandon what the Bible teaches, what Christianity teaches, and then tomorrow we shall see them with other women. And they are proud. It means basically they are no longer even following what their doctrines tell them to follow. So we are here as Humanity TV Africa to remind you to watch out on these pastors. Pastor Man is back. It's back. Thanks, Fred. Is back. Is going to take over from where I have stopped. I was giving you a recap as we organize his network. Pastor Man is back. We welcome Pastor Man back on the air to take us forward in the show. Pastor Man, it's your show.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much, my brother. It's unfortunate power went off, then network also went off. So it's just a junk, but you'll have to forbear with us. We are continuing with our session on cults. We finished the first definition as you've just been explaining. We are now dealing with the second definition of the term cults. The second definition is given by anthropologists and sociologists. And who are anthropologists? These are experts in human behavior. These have also their own definition of the term cult. Remember, we started with the primary definition. Now we are looking at what we call the second definition given by anthropologists. And according to anthropologists and sociologists, these are people who study human behavior, human culture, society in general. They define a cult as any group of people or organization whose beliefs, whose rituals, whose practices, whose behaviors, whose relationship making, and others are weird, and they differ or error from what is generally accepted as the normal in civilized or cultured society. We believe in civilization. We believe in culture. When people have civilization, when people have a culture, they do things in a way that wins the 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 the, the, the respect of society. They won't be despised because that is their culture. That is the way they do things. So these people who study sociology, who study anthropology, they define a cult as a group whose beliefs. Now, what are beliefs? These are things we believe in. This is what we think is right or wrong. So those are what we call beliefs. Now, when you see an educated person believing in what we call holy water, but which is drawn from natural channel, which is not boiled, and somebody takes it believing it can cure, it can heal, it has magical powers, to a sociologist, to an anthropologist, that is weird, that is absurd, that is abnormal, that is uncultured, that contravenes what is generally regarded as normal, as okay in cultured and principled society. So you remember the doctor I talked about, who was reviling the unboiled water the Kakandes used to give to their followers to drink, and they told him to go to Lake Victoria, where natural channel flows into the lake, to draw there a full jerrycan of water, bring it to them. They pray for it, they bless it. That is weird. That is abnormal. That is uncultured.
Right there, Pastor somebody explained to us, you can see the natural challenge talking about where they got dirty water that was made holy, and people in a church ended up taking the dirty water. You see right there. Now, if people can take dirty water thinking it's good water because the pastor has prayed it for it, really, and these people thinking enough. So customer is simply telling you that people are made to take water from such a dirty channel, such a dirty drainage channel, and they drink it in church because a pastor has told them that that water is now holy. Now, if people can be made to make absurdities by pastors, it means they can do a lot of havoc to themselves behind cameras. Now, this is the extent to which we see churches are destroying a people's character, a people's confidence, a people's self-esteem in Africa. That's the extent to which we have reached, where churches are destroying the self-esteem of many people in Africa. They make them think in absurdities, commit atrocities, and of course, look so helpless. If someone is making another person to kiss their shoes, you can imagine the person kissing the shoes right there was a presidential candidate. Now think about it. If a presidential candidate can go that low to kiss shoes of a pastor, a so-called prophet Mboni, and this is Kableta here, kissing shoes of Prophet Mbonye. Now, if a presidential candidate cannot think beyond what a pastor tells him, now think about the people that believe in this presidential candidate. Think about the people that respect this presidential candidate, that they can respect a person vying to be president of a country, but this person cannot see beyond a given prophet. He goes ahead to kneel down and kiss shoes of a prophet to tap blessings. Now you can imagine the psyche of an elite in Africa, the psyche, the psychology, the thinking of an educated person in Africa. This is the person with degrees, academic degrees. I mean, he has gone to school, but he cannot think beyond a prophet. And this person wants to be a president of a country called Uganda. Now, these are the persons we're talking about. They are using so many tactics to steal from people, to make them think that they are right. You know, people believe in pastors, people believe in these preachers to the extent that they even go ahead and sell their properties to go and sow a seed of faith so that their eyes, their problems, their misfortunes can be cleared, you know. So this is how these pastors operate in Africa. And here in this program, we bring you some of these top pastors and we tell you the wrong things they are doing right in Africa, but they are doing these wrong things without government intervention. Why? Because government have given them the liberty to worship. They call it freedom of worship. Now, freedom of worship is being abused by these pastors. They are so rich. I'm telling you, they have thousands and thousands of followers. Their gatherings have thousands and thousands of followers. So at the end of the day, people are cheated. People spend many hours in churches. I told you that in Africa, people have breakfast prayers, they have lunch prayers, they have evening prayers, you have overnight prayers, night prayers. Now, the question is, when do people work? When they spend much of their time in prayers. Now, this person came in and said, I was wrong about calling television evil. Pastor Kumoi, Pastor Kumoi in Kenya. Now you can imagine a pastor goes even ahead and say, see, television is wrong. They even say watching TV is wrong. Reading newspapers is wrong. Immunization is wrong. Sometimes they even promote lots of conspiracy theories. You know, and people are going to swallow these theories because they think a pastor's right. Here I'm showing you some of the top pastors in Africa, some of the top pastors in Nigeria. Those are the pastors right there on your screen, the top pastors in Nigeria. And of course, we know them as pastors that have been cheating people, causing lots of havoc. People may think they are causing lots of good, but no, they are misleading people. What happens in Africa is that people have a low self-esteem. People expect pastor to solve their problems. People are not really actively looking for solutions apart from getting down to their knees to pray. So this is the problem. Now, here is a theologian of false teachings, and someone will say, avoid them. Now, the poster right there shows you global pastors in the US. And as we know, America has been the biggest sponsor of pastors in Africa. They come from America, they go to America to study, then they come to Africa as experts of theology. So America and their systems have donated so much imperialism through a religion. The pastor born again religion today is an export that Americans actually are putting to Africa. They are giving us all these kind of teachings. These pastors come, they say, I was in America, I said in America, and then Africans are going to be respecting them. You can see some of the fancy churches they have built. Look at that church. It is built in a form of an aeroplane, That is the church. But when you look at it, you may think it's an aeroplane, And this is the church in Nigeria. That's the church in Nigeria. A church in Nigeria built, in a state of the art. They are modern churches. They are built in different styles. And meanwhile, millions of dollars are collected to build these churches. You can see prayer and meditation center. These are some of the biggest stadiums in Nigeria that have been built through donations from a poor people. Instead of investing this money into businesses, people basically are investing this money into churches, and mega churches are being built in Africa. The question has been, why don't we build schools? Why don't we build vocational training colleges? Why don't we build technology industries? Start making computers, start making cars. Why can't churches think about things that can put money into the pockets of the people instead of building multi-million churches to make one pastor and his family and their families richer? Why don't they build industries, factories, schools that are teaching technology, assembling computers, making cars, making bicycles, making things that can help people move forward. So we have been asking, if these churches want to promote production in Africa, if they want to promote growth in Africa, if they want to get people out of poverty in Africa, why don't they support people get out of poverty than always praying for them, always giving them false hope? Why? Because churches survive on false hope, giving false hope. Everything is falsified. They give hope that does not exist. Their merchant is God. Their trade is God. So in this program, we basically talk about issues that affect Africa. And Pastor Mali is right back there. We shall give him a go ahead to simply go ahead and teach us more about our cults in Africa and in the world. Pastor Mali, most welcome again. Please go ahead. We know the internet is disturbing you, but go ahead.
Thank you very much.
I
was dealing with the anthropological, sociological definition of the term cult. And I said that when sociologists and anthropologists see someone educated, a medical doctor, going to Lake Victoria, Gaba, to pick a jerrycan of water, bring it to Kakande, to pray for it so that his problems could be sorted, that is weighed, that is abnormal, that actually defines it, the group, as a cult. And when you look at Alice Lakwena convinced Professor Isaac Newton Ojok. This is an intellectual. Makerere University, a Don, former minister of education. She convinced, this is an illiterate woman who convinces a PhD holder that if he throws stones, they would become grenades. And if he smears himself with oil, then he would become bulletproof. Such manipulation, when sociologists and anthropologists see that, it is weighed, it is abnormal, and they qualify the group as a cult. It's not me, Moses Solomon Male, who qualifies the group as a cult, but it is our friends, the intellectuals, the educated, who study human behavior, who study society in general, who qualify the group as a cult. My role is just to define. My role is just to educate. My role is just to equip you. Now, we are looking at cult from the sociological stroke anthropological angle. People who study human behavior, people who study society in general. Now, it is known that a man must marry a woman. That is natural. And scientifically, unlike poles attract, they like poles repel. That is science. It's not Mary defining it. It's science. Science tells us that when you get two poles together, the negative and the positive, but then when negative and negative, they repel. And if you get the positive and positive, they'll still repel. Now, according to sociologists, when a man chooses to marry a fellow man, or have sex with a fellow man, or a woman have sex with a fellow woman, or a man and man have sex in an unnatural way, that definitely qualifies the group as a cult. It's not Malay defining them as a cult, but it is the sociologists stroke anthropologists. They define the group as a cult. Now, typically, we know that when you toil, you earn a living. When you work, Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration, which means if you want to make it in life, you have to toil, you have to struggle, you must have a vision, a foresight that keeps inspiring you to move on no matter the challenges. But then at the end of the day, you must put in effort. You must put in hard work. You toil, you struggle, you work your way up the scales of life. That is life. When we get into cults, when sociologists and anthropologists see groups of people with leadership that encourages people to wake up in the morning at 6 go and pray. Spend the night in the same synagogue or church. Do no work. And at the end of the day, expect to earn a living. Through a living, through praying so much, they define that group as a cult. Recently, I saw Kakande. He put an advert. He wants to buy a new car. I think it's a Range Rover. And according to the advert, actually, he was telling it himself that for those who want to achieve their dreams, it's $300. I think the deadline is today. He wants to buy a car. He said, I want to buy a car for Kakande. Now, if you want to partake of the blessings, this is the false premise. Now, you give $300 so that you can achieve your dream. And he said, if you want to build a skyscraper, if you want to buy a car, you want to build a house, you want to build a flat, you want to become rich, you just part with $100. In Uganda currency, 1 million shillings. Now you see a typical thief, a fraudster, deceiving followers that if they want to build mansions, if they want to become billionaires, trillionaires, all they have to do is to part with $300. According to anthropologists and sociologists, they define that as a cult. Why? Man has faculties. You must use your mind. You must think, you must reason, you must understand, you must see, and you must feel. That means you must have your own perspective, way of seeing things, way of understanding things at all times. A man must have a faculty to remember, so that finally you make your own rational decision. But if you believe such, and that is the norm, if you give $300, then you build a house at the end of the day. If you give $300, you'll build, you can even buy a plane, because that is what Kakande is promising them. Now, if you go to the internet, you'll see it. He's simply ripping off. Anthropologists and sociologists define Kakande as a cult leader, and his group, the Synagogue Church of All Nations, as a cult, because in there it is vain hope, false hope. It is weird. It is weird that you can give $300 and then buy a plane. You can give $300 and build a skyscraper. It is strange. It is weird. It is abnormal. It is unnatural. That's why that group, called the Synagogue Church of All Nations, must be qualified as a cult. Now, as I said, we struggle, as Thomas Edison said. We know that the Bible says that for everything in life, there is a time and season. A time to wake up and a time to sleep. A time to be with your wife and a time to be busy. A time to be with your husband and a time to be busy and with children. That is life. Now, if a group deprives you of your consummation with your partner, quiet time with your partner, that night time with your partner, and they tell you, you go to 77 dogs and pray overnight, 77 dogs, or P5, whatever it is. You see, time is very precious. Some say time is money, but personally, I say time is life. When you waste one moment of your time, that is one moment life will never and ever recover it. No one can redeem it. No one can pray for that time that you wasted to come back. Actually, that's why many people live in regrets. But when you see a man like Pastor Robert Kayanja, Miracle Center Cathedral, manipulating his followers, instead of wives having quiet time with their husbands, and husbands having quiet time with their wives, then these people go and pray trans night. When a man needs sex, whom will he turn to? If a woman needs sex, whom will she turn to? That means actually these are encouraging marital breakages, because one of the factors, the very most important factor that keeps man and woman together, is sexual consummation. Nothing else. If it's washing clothing, some take to machines. Others have nuns, maids at home, or young men at home to do the work. But the one thing that a couple cannot get elsewhere is consummation, sex. Now, if you tell a woman to go to 77 Dogs Miracle Center to pray transnight, one day after another, a year ends, another year ends, another year ends, 1 year after another, praying, and then marriage breaks, whom are you going to blame? God, or you are going to blame Kayanja? For sociologists and anthropologists, if that is the norm, it is weighed, it is weird. They qualify the group, Miracle Center, whatever the cathedral, and the leader, Robert Kayanja, as a cult. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not me. But I'm just trying to match the people with the definition so that you people out there can understand. Now we know that man must have a woman. The Abbas sang, there's a song they sang called People Need Love. Everybody knows that a man who's in down needs a female sympathy. We all need women. But now, you go to churches, you go to groups, and then they start teaching that if a woman is not married, she is married to a spiritual husband. And that spiritual husband is Kaula. That is weird. That is weird. Is a person who gets the age of man, a male or female, we all urinate on the bed. But you can dream when you're having sexual intercourse. A woman can dream and a man can dream. Now look at a man or woman. A woman, because it's women who are manipulated so much to believe that they are actually possessed by Kaula. Now, that is the car for which Kakande is now telling followers to give $300 so that they themselves can buy planes, can buy helicopters, can achieve their dreams, can realize their dreams. That's typically cult. Now, let's go back there. Now, we know that any mature woman whose menstrual cycles, that woman is ready for marriage. We have a group who are in the marriage age bracket but who are not married. They are married because men don't want to marry. Men don't want to marry because those who have been married have been frustrated by their partners. So it's a quagmire. So what happens? There are many women who go to churches. They even go to shrines hoping for deliverance so that they can get partners. And what happens? Men like Tom Sembera, men like Tom Mugero in Mutundwe, they tell them to pray, they tell them to fast. And then when they have no solution to their problems, then they tell them, when you're having sex with a man, then you have what we call a spiritual husband. That is a demon. And that, if you must be prayed for so that you can be delivered. Instead of telling them that, look, you are in the sexually active age group, my advice would be find a partner and get married. They simply tell them that, look, you have a spiritual husband, you are possessed, therefore we pray for you. And they keep praying for them. Many women, they get disappointed, they get frustrated. Actually, many die loners. I remember a friend. I have a friend, he's a pastor. He has a wife. That wife had a sister. The sister used to live, I think, in the US. Yeah, the sister used to live in the US, and she had studied medicine. And listen to this, she had studied medicine. She was working in the hospital. But because of years, you say Ugandan leaving Uganda to live in the US, men in the US are not as. So she takes years, very, very born again, saved, not getting a partner. So she starts sourcing for who can pray for her. She comes back to Uganda. When she comes back to Uganda, she goes to Tom Mogirwa in Mutundwe. And they tell her to go for a 40-day dry fast. Listen, a 40-day dry fast. 10, 20, 30, 40. 40 days dry fast. So this educated woman went for a 40-day dry fast. Before it ended, a friend of hers, she started getting problems in the stomach. Then her friend advised her to make it. The woman said, no, I cannot break my fast. I'm in for breakthrough. I must get a man. So she continued fasting. Then one day, she got unconscious. She was taken to a clinic somewhere around mountain, around Seguku. Then from there, they referred her. They couldn't handle her to Mildmay. Mildmay referred her to Nsambia Hospital. By the time she got to Nsambia Hospital, she was already a corpse. A corpse. She died in her prime life, desperately seeking for a husband. But instead of accepting a man who would come her way, she chose to fast because the pastor had told her to fast. When we start to see as the norm, we define that as a cult. Let me tell you, science has brought us medicine. Even before medicine came, we also had, even before scientific medicine came, we had our traditional medicine. Traditional medicine is totally different from the spirits that witch doctors use. But this is the natural herbs that our ancestors used to administer when they were sick. Now, in normal life, we all fall sick. When we fall sick, we need medication. But then if somebody deceives you that you don't need medication, you need prayer, and you pray and then die, the sociologists and anthropologists define that as a cult to the adult. Many churches today where pastors claim to be miracle maestro, and they are calling on people, whether you have cancer, you have ulcers, you have any disease or sickness, and they claim to possess powers to cure, which they don't. Anthropologists and sociologists define those groups as cults. Let me just remind you, COVID is just about 2 years away, 2 years ago. During COVID time, all of the miracle workers totally disappeared off this face of the earth. Not even Benny Hinn, not even the recently died Nigerian TB Joshua, not even Kakane, not even Kayanja. And I kept telling people, look, where are the miracle workers? This would be the opportune time for them to display their power, because the world is at a standstill. America and UK are two states which are intertwined. UK, but there came a time during COVID, the British could not be allowed to cross over the Atlantic to go to the US. Similarly, the Americans couldn't cross over couldn't cross the Atlantic into the UK. People needed miracles. The miracle workers disappeared. They all disappeared off the face of the earth. Bujingo disappeared. Kayanja disappeared. Kakande disappeared. TGB Joshua disappeared. And I kept telling people that, look, at the time when we need miracles most, these men and women, miracle workers, when COVID-19 is over, you will see them surface. And what is happening today? They've resurfaced in plenty everywhere. Now, when anthropologists and sociologists that instead of taking medicine, people are going to be prayed for. Instead of working hard, people are going to be prayed for. Instead of spending time in your garden to plant, you're going to church to pray. Instead of looking after your chicken like I look after mine, you go to be prayed for. And the money that you would have used to build your capital, to advance, to progress, to prosper, you actually get it, go and give it, and then you come back and start praying, oh God, give me more money. You've already given away the money God had given you. And now you are praying for him to give you more so that you can still give it away. Because as long as they see that you've given it away, then the more money you get, the more you give away. You are poor, then these are called miracle workers, the thugs, the reapers of, they get richer than you are. Sociologists and anthropologists define the group as a cult. As a cult. There is no first fruit. You see, these groups twist scripture. We'll go to that later on. They twist scripture. They manipulate. They convince. They persuade. They intimidate. You believe you are on the right track. You people who are sick, get back to medication. Instead of spending time in night prayers, day prayers, instead of wasting your valuable time going to be prayed for, spend that valuable time coming up with the solutions to human challenges. That is where money is. If you're a medical doctor, start up a hospital or a clinic. If you're a lawyer, go for service. Give legal counsel. If you're a teacher, go to class. If you're married, give your wife due time. If you're a woman, give your husband due time. Prayer is not going to sort your problems, and prayer has never been a solution to human lives and human challenges. At the end of the day, we must see real practical work going on, action going on. That is the solution. You can't say we are going to pray for this and then it happens. No. You are simply missing the mark and missing the point. You see people licking the feet, bowing by the feet of a fraudster, and then you are happy that is a man of God called Mbonyi. You see, when sociologists and anthropologists see doing that, like that man is doing in the picture, in the photo you see, that is defined as a cult. You are actually worshiping a human being instead of going out to work to pay the price. In my Baganda culture, my granny used to tell me, omunaku kama yelandiza yeka. A poor person, a nobody, is like a climbing plant called the kama. It's one of our totems in the Kobe clan. Okay? That plant is very weak. It doesn't have a strong stem. It is a climbing plant. But the way it goes about life, it can start from the ground. As it climbs, it goes meandering. Then it starts off with the short trees. Then it goes down. Then it goes up until it finally climbs up to the canopy of the biggest tree. And once it reaches the canopy, it spreads its leaves. That is Kama. Kobe, our totem, Kama. It can climb and then finally overshadow even the biggest tree. It struggles. Kama is a struggler. Life is about struggling. A human being must be a struggler, not a prayer slave, where you always go to be prayed for, and at the end of the day, you end up enriching the person who is praying for you and impoverishing yourself. You throw money at the feet. In the Bible, when money was thrown at the feet of the apostles, it was again shared out among the believers so that none of them could suffer want. But today, you take all the money at the feet of the apostle like Vujingo. He just carries it off and then buys a Porsche car or builds another mansion for his darling wife. And at the end of the day, he cannot end a service without talking about his beautiful woman for whom he has built a palace. And where do the followers stay? They stay in ghetto. Ghetto people collect money to build castles, mansions, and palaces for the thieves in the pews, whom anthropologists and sociologists will define as cult leaders. Now, what more would you want? I think that is very clear. Everything weighed that you see when you go to a place of worship, in quotes, or to a shrine, once it is weighed, weird, queer, and so on and so forth, that is qualified as a cult group. So beware as you move. In Uganda and the East African region, including Africa, we have a lot of curiosity. We want to test. We want to see. We want to see the power. But I'm telling you the truth. That power, if it were there, no one would have hid himself during COVID. Alice Lakwena deceives unintellectual. Kakande deceives unintellectual. Kayanja deceives and the house are themselves academic failures. That is the challenge. Because Kakande is a P7 dropout, primary school. Namutebi Imelda, primary school dropout. Okay? Kayanja, okay, he got courses here and there, manipulative courses in Bible colleges, but S4 dropout. When you go to these men like Chiwewesi, name them, most of them are dropouts. But then they succeed in manipulating even the educated to believe that they are miracle maestros. They break their marriages. They destroy the opportunities. They get them off their aspirations. And they become their slaves, prayer slaves. Do not be a prayer slave. Work your way up the scales of life. Don't look for cheap things. Cheap tools are very expensive habits. So that's what anthropologists define as a cult. Now, when you see beliefs, when you see rituals, when you see practices, when you see behaviors, when you see relationship making and others weird or weird, contravening nature, contravening cultured, disciplined, or civilized society, all of that qualify for a cult. We all know men treat their hairs like I do mine. We know women plait their hairs. But a man plaiting the hair, a man using cosmetics like a woman, lipsticks, and so on and so forth, and a group believing that, then that group is defined as a cult. Because the way they do things, the way they conduct their affairs, the way they present themselves, contravenes nature, contravenes culture, contravenes civilized society. Remember His Excellency Bobi Wine, formerly he was in ghetto. Ghetto is a cult. Out of ghetto, he migrated to parliament. he was first forced to shave off his hair, and he shaved it. All the platings are gone. He's now a new creature. He's no longer part of the ghetto. When you see all these young people in ghetto, they call themselves Rastafarians. Anthropologists and sociologists define the group as a cult because its behavior contravene what is generally accepted as normal. A man cannot put on a woman's dressing. A woman cannot put on men's dressing. If they cross the lines, and that is the way they believe, that's the way they think, that is what they call normal, then that's a cult. Nothing more, nothing less. That is the second definition of the term cult. I wonder, my brother Kato, if you have questions you can ask on behalf of the viewers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thank you so much, Pastor Mari. Me, I'm very interested in asking questions, of course. Yes, Pastor. Pastor Mari, our viewers would like to know exactly if, for example, in Uganda, we have pastors that are not into the club of chaotic pastors. If we have those who are good and those who are into cults, how do we know that actually we have better ones? Are there some better oranges in the pack, or all of them are gone cases?
My brother Kato, I'm not a publicist. I'm a teacher. A teacher teaches you, then you apply. I teach what we call applied theology, applied spiritualism, applied basic. What I'm giving you, you can apply. Get the basics I've given you. Go and put every group on the yardstick and say, Mare said fraud. Is it there? That's a cult. Mare said relationship breaking. It's a cult. Mare said they emphasize that people go and prayed for instead of going. Okay, then that's a cult. Let me tell you, my brother, there are so many people who have died after education just because they believe that the men and women who stand in the pews have powers to heal them and to cure them. So many have died. I told you of there was a pastor called Joseph Rutu of Exodus Ministry, Nakulabi. This man believed that if he attends Balabi Kubo's prayer sessions, he would be cured. He believed it. He attended and started believing that he had been cured. Now, he had a friend of his in Kasubi. One day he goes to visit there, a very cute young woman. This young woman is a medic. She used to head Kawempe Health Center. Then he tells his fellow pastor that I need that woman. The woman went there and he told her that, you see, we've got to change. Fine. So the pastor, Lutu, took the young woman, Kathy, to a backyard clinic in Namungona, where they had paid, and indeed results came out negative. They got married. That was, I think, around 2001. Around 2001. Barely 3 months into marriage, the man was hospitalized. Then he was taken to, it's called Kanyanya. There's a health center in Kanyanya, St. Paul Health Center in Kanyanya. She was taken there. The man was taken there. So they asked the woman, do you mind if your husband can be tested for HIV? She said, no problem. Of course, they had tested for HIV and the results had come back negative. They had got married. All the pastors in Kampala at the time attended, including Apostle Mitala. At the end of the day, when the man was examined, the bad news came to the woman. HIV positive. The woman could not believe that the man had deceived her, that he was negative. The man died about 4 months into their marriage. I met the woman in her adult life, only to end up with a man who believed in miracles, not, and he lost his life. How many people have lost loved? I remember about, I think 4 years ago or 3, a woman calls me at night, Pastor Male, yes, there was a man who had been attending prayer service at Pastor Tom Mogirwa's church in Mutumbe. That man was a sister, a brother to this woman. So the woman calls me, Pastor, please pray. Like the woman, there's a biblical woman who prayed. So she told me, please pray. My brother cannot, no, he cannot be dead. But the man had died. And I asked, what is the problem? Then a friend of mine told me later on the whole story that this man had HIV. He goes to Mutuundwe, Pastor Tom, in the eyes, demons in the nose, demons in the feet, demons everywhere. So he went in. He was on ARV. He stopped his ARV with ARVs. HIV is a pandemic, which we all know. It has no cure. If you get people off medication, then you are no better than a murderer. The man fasted. The man died. The sister cried to me. There's nothing I could do for the man. The man used to be called Tegule. But Tegule had died. The sister called to me, helpless. How many people have died in churches believing they are going to be prayed for and cured? I saw it in plenty in Kakande's church. I've seen it in many Pentecostal churches. People are taken in there and they die. Okay, they have a claim, hospital and other hospitals, people die. But they are not manipulated to die. They are deliberately taken off medication to die so they can take properties. It is very unfortunate. So when sociologists and anthropologists see that, they qualify that cult.
Pastor, thank you so much. That is the better explanation I have given. One time, I was following you. Yes. Continue, Pastor Male. Continue. I will come in later. Continue. I'll come in later.
I'm saying, I give you the yardstick. You get what you need from there. Now, I think we move on to the third definition of the term cult.
Yes, it has moved on. Yes.
This is the most intriguing. The third definition of the term cult is given by the general public and is called the general public definition of the term cult. Up to the general public definition perspective, cult refers to any organization or group of people whose leadership, whose teachings, whose practices, whose rituals, etc., prove abusive, manipulative, exploitative, and destructive to its members and outsiders, contrary to society expectations. We all know that if you join a group, it must add unto you. But if you join a group that gives you or incapacitates you, then that's not a good group. That's a cult group. The public understands a cult when evidence of abuse, when evidence of manipulation, when evidence of exploitation and destruction. Before that happens, no one can say this is a cult. A person may be highly educated with PhD. Ask him what a cult is, he will say Chibwetere. Ask him what a cult is, he will say what we've already exposed. He won't go beyond that. He will say a fraudster like Kakande because we've already defined that. But even then, he may not be able to do that just because he doesn't have the perimeters or the parameters. Before such evil surfaces, the group can continue with its activities without anyone bothered. That is why many people discover that they are in cults or the group is a cult when evil has surfaced, when danger has surfaced, when people have been killed, when people have been robbed, when people have been manipulated. Nothing there. Now, from this perspective, a group proves a cult because one, physically, emotionally, mentally, and health-wise, negatively affects the members and followers. Yet these people continue attending or indulging. Think of a group where a woman sells off the first piece of land expecting a miracle. Nothing happens. Sells off a second expecting a miracle. Nothing happens. Sells off a third. People continue being exploited without realizing that they're actually being exploited. Let's go to Chibwetere. Chitagagawera used to be the RDC of that area. Police was there. Everybody was there. But this Chibwetere group, the movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God, succeeded in manipulating followers to give over all of their riches, including land, cows, and so on and so forth. Then at the end of the day, the group locked them up in Kanu and burnt them to death. Before that happened, no one could believe that those people, calm as they seem to be, could be deadly. Father Katariba would put on his cassock. Chibwetere, I think he was a teacher, so educated and of course articulate. Then Credonia Mwerinde, who was once a barmaid or a bar woman or a prostitute, was also there with her beauty. No one could suspect that the group was murderous until the 17th of March 2000, when the fires are brought. That's when people, hey, so these people, this has been a cult. Then they went on to investigate the house in Entebbe, another house in Ibuziga, and then the exhumation that took place in Kanungu, in their facility, in their offices. What happened? Because this group requires, this definition requires evidence. Before evidence is adduced, the group is never called a cult. And it is unfortunate that even our police looks at evidence. Courts look at evidence. Before evidence surfaces, the group is a religion. Before it surfaces, the group is a religion. When it surfaces, the group is a cult. That's why it's difficult to convince people who have been trapped in cults to come out, because evidence is not yet out. Now, the physical ruin, the emotional ruin, the mental, the health consequences that members therein suffer in a group qualifies the group for a cult. Yet they continue with indulgence. Now, still, a group is manipulative when people who are desperate continue even inviting others into the group with promises of huge monetary gain, Western visas, wealth, and better life. Let me tell you, Why does the homosexuality cult group qualify for cult? Because members therein talk good or well of the group. They talk of visas, they talk of riches, they talk of parity, they talk of big things. Our local Ugandan boys, young men and women, are lured into it because of money. They are promised Western visas. And that's why you see so many Ugandans going to American embassy, British High Commission, and other Western embassies, claiming to be homosexuals when they are actually not, because of the huge monetary expectations. A group under this definition qualifies for cult when it has secretiveness, which enables clandestine proliferations and recruitment of membership. These groups have a lot of secrecy. Look at Mackenzie. How can you murder one person after another? You go into hundreds. No one has detected until recently when he was arrested. But they were killing, so secretiveness. So a group qualifies for a cult when its secrets are finally exposed and people realize it. But before that, the group is a cult because it has a lot of secrecy that goes with its operations. Now, there's a lot of secrecy. A group can also have slangs. Slangs. What is a slang? This is using known words to mean something else. Known words to mean something else. When I was still with Kakande, they used to call the church Holy Church of Christ New Chapter. And when you'd go there, you say, when I came to the new chapter, for many, new chapter is another page in life. But when you go to Kakande's new chapter, then people would come, the second or the new page in life would actually be destructive because you'd have been manipulated, your marriage would have been broken, your money would have gone, your health even gone. I remember while we were with Kakande, many people who were manipulated never to take medication but rely on water. Let me now look at all these one by one. The general public definition of the term cult. What qualifies a group under the general public definition for cult? Now, leadership, teachings, practices, and rituals prove abusive. Now, what happened in Kakande's church? When you see the doctor told to bring unboiled water, then told to drink it, that is abuse. Abuse. I remember my second best man, Semambo. Kakande would eat fish. Then he gets the bones. He adds the ashes and gives Semambo to give to his wife and himself to bathe. Then they would stink of umputa, of fish. What they wanted was Semambo and his wife Angela. By the way, Angela Semambo was once the company secretary. You call it, no, the personnel, is it personnel recruitment at KCC? Then before it being renamed KCC, Kampala State Council. An intellectual, a professional, supposed to be recruiting employees for KCC. But she was attending Kakande's church, given bones and ashes to bathe. That is manipulation, and that is abusing. But still, these two, Semambo was an architect, not a mere ghetto man, but an architect. Makerere University, architect Makerere University. Then this is I don't know what she held, but she was in charge of personnel at KCCA.
Human resource manager.
These two
Human resource manager.
Resource manager, I think, of his body, given fish bones and ashes to bathe. Now, abuse. Let us look at Jim Jones sexually abusing women. Let us look at Chuede sexually abusing women. Let us look at Pastor Robert Kayanja sexually abusing boys every now and then, one group after another, one group after another. Let us look at Chiwewes abusing sexually young men. That group qualifies for cult. Namutebi still abusing. I remember how Namutebi claimed to have powers to cure HIV. And then there's this woman, Kashemere Grace. Grace is told to testify that Namutebi cured her. Yeah, that Jim Jones was sexually abusing women, one after another, one after another. No problem. These are groups. Before the outing of the secrets, no one believed that Jim Jones was a cult leader until he was outed, until he killed the over 914 people, including himself, using cyanide gas, poison, and bullets. Now, so a group, to qualify for cult under the public definition perspective, must be abusive. It abuses. Too manipulative. Manipulation. To manipulate is to cleverly control somebody's life without the control knowing or realizing that the person is actually being controlled. The tools used include fear, excitement, pain, and confusion. You go to a group, they manipulate you, they instill fear in you. If you don't give that money, you will lose it. Like the story of the woman that I told you about, who went to Pastor Tom Sembera and gave money that the husband had sent her to buy land and build a house. She ended up being intimidated into giving all of the money. She never built the house. When she sought for the money from Tom Sembera, instead of getting the money back, Tom Sembera asked her, "Whom did you give it? Did you give it to me?" She said, "But you told me to give it to God. Then can you make God hurry?" Then the woman said, "No." Then she said, "Why are you making me hurry?" Then she said, "Okay, Pastor, what I now need, let me recover what I gave." And Tom Sembera told her, "God does not want fools. Get out of my sight." And he walked away. The woman went, born, killed herself, left a death note. Manipulation. Intimidate. The woman was intimidated that if she didn't give the money, she'll lose it. Out of fear, she gave the money. There's a woman, Mama Nankaza, whom the pastor manipulated. Go and fast 3 days. After fasting, she went to be prayed for at the pastor's home. In the pastor's home, he took her to a boy, and in there, the pastor comes and tells her, "Now close your eyes. You've got demons in the head." Cast out. The woman took it. Oh, it has gone into the off the knickers. So the woman took off the knickers. After taking off the knickers, the pastor told her, "Close your eyes and pray so much as I pray for you." So he was praying for her. Then eventually, the woman got to her senses when the man's penis was inside her vagina. That ends the story. The woman said, "But Pastor, did you have to make me fast for 3 days Then come here for prayers when you wanted just to do this to me. Why didn't you tell me right away? Manipulation. Manipulation is a very powerful tool and it's being used. You see all the church taking place. You go to a church service, from the first entry up to the last, it is casting demons, one demon after another. That is simple manipulation. You remember the story of Katai told you with Bishop Makumbi? Makumbi gets Kato, tells him, does he want to become rich? Kato said yes. Then Makumbi promised him a car, a house, a wedding, and capital to do business. He told him, you go and undress and pretend to be mad. Then they take you to a shrine. In the shrine, you see all the tricks of the witch doctors. Then come back, we start from there. Kato did just that. He first went to Kalagala in Chivoga. He feared to undress because in there were girls he had ever loved. So he decided to cross over to Lake Victoria, where his father used to live and his stepmother Tambit. So goes there to the islands. The first day he undresses. When he undresses, people saw him. They saw him even picking feces. And Pastor Bogere told me that he saw him eating feces. But Kato said he never ate the feces, but he tried to hoodwink people to believe that he was actually eating the feces, but he was just throwing them away. Then I asked Kato, you go to this extent just to make money? He said, yes, that's what the pastor told me to do. So when he undressed in Bukwaya, he took off his clothing, the people thought he had run mad. So they took him to a shrine. He would say, it's my meat. It will not be well. He was actually speaking out the name of his stepmother. This was all cooked up. So the witch doctor said that the stepmother had bewitched Kato. They took Kato. So Kato spent several days in the shrine, several weeks in the shrine. He saw the tricks. He was sober, but pretended to be mad. So in there, while he was in there, the people of Ukwaya went to Kato's stepmother's home, got out all her property, burnt them, sought for Tambit to kill her. Tambit fled unto the house of Pastor Bogere. So at in Pastor Bogere's house, she took refuge. When she took refuge, then she called the police in Chindi. Chindi police to her, but they referred to Marine police. Marine police went to Bukwaya. They succeeded getting her out alive, but her house, her property were all burnt and demolished. The house was demolished, the property was burnt to ashes. Tambit survived narrowly. Police took her to Chindi. Marine police took her to Chindi, and then she escaped to I think it's called Chinagana, Chikakanya. The place is called Chikakanya in Buikwe district. That's where she took shelter. I met Tambit, very broken. Can you imagine that her entire house was demolished? She had to start life afresh, and she could not go back to Bukwaya, falsely accused of bewitching her stepson. After that incident, Kato goes back to Entebbe, to Kajansi, Bishop Patrick Makumbi's place. Makumbi tells him, did you undress like we did here? Did people realize that you were tricked? Yes. So he gave him 500,000 shillings to go and spend the night shopping all of the items he saw being used in a shrine. Kato did that. He spent the night in Natet, bought all that paraphernalia. Then following day was Sunday. He goes to church. Makumbi had told him on Saturday, when you come to church tomorrow, you don't know me. I also don't know you. Fine? Yes. So I'll start calling that there is a man who has come to this church to bewitch. If you are there, come up. don't come up. Stay there until about 5 times. Then when you stand up, they'll know that I have powers to see. Now, when the floor and I pray for you, fall down. After falling down, even let foam on your mouth. And all went as planned. Kato goes to church on Sunday. They don't know each other. Makumbi says there is a man. Kato doesn't. He calls again and again and again. They finally said, have you refused to come up? Should I pray and then you die? So now Kato Mukasa stands up. He also has your name, Kato Mukasa, but not you. This is Kato Mukasa, born in Ichiboga, lived in Ibukwaya, a former fisherman. Okay? So now Mukasa stands up. He's finally ushered to the pulpit. At the pulpit, Makumbi say, oh, you've got witchcraft here. So he brings it out. Even here, bring out. Then he prays for him. He falls down. Foam forms. Then he says, you take him out and remove everything from him. When they removed it, they brought it, the talismans, everything, bring them to me. Then people shouted, powerful, you're going to die. Then he said, no, the power that has delivered this man is the power that is here today, and it is going to deliver you. Then he said, bring them. So they brought them, gave them to him. Then he held them up like this. When he held them up like that, said, do you see, has it done anything to me? No. Now, how many of you want to hear the man's testimony? Yes. So Makumbi invites Kato Mukasa. Kato starts off by telling the congregation that he had been born in a believes in witchcraft, and that at 5 years old he was taken to Tanzania and then initiated into the spiritualism. Yes, come back tomorrow. So he gave just that back. Following day, still the same thing. Bit of the testimony stops him. And it continued for 1 week, for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, people had started flocking there, and Makumbi had gathered enough money. So he goes with Kato to a car bond in Nakawa. He buys a brand new, how do you know, I don't have a vehicle, so I don't know. But this it's called Premium. He buys a brand new Premium. Kato thought it was his, but Makumbi had bought it for his dear wife, using Kato to manipulate the people to bring the money. After buying the car, Kato thought it was his. Then he said, Pastor, is this one? No, it's for my wife, but you are going to even become greater. No, you cannot drive this type of car. You need a big car, and we need to do big deals. So he told Kato to disappear a bit. Then he come back. When he comes back, then he will give another story that he had been his family taken back to Tanzania. He had escaped back because of the power of Makumbi. Kato did that. He disappeared a bit. Then Makumbi invited in a journalist from Bukede. He's called Tumwesige. Tumwesige writes a story headed, My Father Initiated Me into Worshipping Spirits at the age of 5 years. Misambo at the age of 5. People who bought this, the people who bought partake of the power that they thought was there, but which wasn't power. It was simple manipulation. So Makumbi, after that, he took him to UBC TV, and the man shared his story. More people were drawn. Then I think he took him to another radio in Chitintale. He shared his story. Still, people went. Makumbi became so rich. The mistake he did was never to pay Kato. In 2016, Kato comes to me, Kato Mukasa. he tells me his story, and I say, oh, I want to investigate it. I went to Chiboga, where he claimed to have been born, and I proved it. Then to New Vision, I dug up that story of 2010 and I got it. Then I called Patrick to Mwesige, come. Patrick came and I told him, you wrote this story? He said, yes. Do you believe it is true? He said, yes. You get this man. He said, Bishop Patrick Bakumbi gave me a call that he had a person from whom he wanted me to take his testimony and then publish it. Did you see the man? Yes. Do you still remember him? Yes, if I can see him. Did you believe the story to be true? Then he said, of course. Kato was seated just facing the other side. And I asked him, if you see him, would you recognize him? Then he said, I must. So I told Kato, turn. Kato turned. Is he the one? He said, yes, he's the one. Do you believe the story is true? Yes. Then I told Kato, tell him. Then Kato told him, no, it was a sham. We just manipulation. Patrick said, are you sure? So Patrick wanted to prove it. So we decided to Bukwaya. We paid the money for me and the Bukede journalists to go to Bukwaya. We took a boat from Chiindi up to Bukwaya. We found the people there. We took the story. I have the video footage for Bukwaya if you want them. I have them. So I had the story. I got the story of Pastor Bogere. Kalagala had got the story in Chiboga. Now this, and they told me that through Katofi had to go back to Bukwaya. The reason, he had deceived him. He had deceived them that he had been bewitched by the stepmother. And he told me that if I go to Bukwaya, they will kill me because I wasted their time and I wasted their money. So he refused to go. But then he connected us to his father's graveyard. And I said, so this is what passed to miracle making, which is not there. So I wanted Bukede to run the story. So Bukede ran the story. Now a new story. And then Makumbi said, Bampalana, they just hate me. The man was cured. It was not fake. But Bukede ran, the story was fake. Good now. There is another big story in Bukwaya which I got, but that will be for another time. So when we come back, NTV decided to run the story. When you go to the internet and you Google NTV Investigates, you'll see Kato's short story about that. So that is what we call manipulation. You can use people which are not true. You can use people to fake up testimonies which are not true. All that is manipulation. You can intimidate, you can excite, you see, when people hear testimonies, they get excited that they can also be delivered. They can bring the money which you want from them. That is manipulation. And that is so rampant in this country. Kakande uses it, Kayanja uses it, most of the pastors use it. And worldwide, even Benny Hinn uses it. The Nigerians use it. Oboyev, there's this Nigerian man who even has a branch in Uganda. It's called, I've forgotten the name, but he uses it. South Africa. These are tricks that they've These are tricks that they've come up with to manipulate. What people want, best way to convince them that they'll be delivered. What do people want? Prosperity. What will be the best way to get money out of them? Bring a miracle, a prosperity testimony. And that's why you see the testimonies that take place in these churches. You cannot verify them. You cannot verify them. Pastor Deboy, you cannot verify them because they are cooked up. There is only one person
who agreed that he cooked up testimonies, and that is the late Abizayo Yiga. He admitted that he's in business, but the others fight tooth and nail. I remember what went through. Was arrested. I got him out. Arrested again. I got him. Arrested again. I got him. Let me tell you, dear viewers, and my brother Kato, I've spent much of, I'll probably be now stinking wealthy, but I've spent a lot of my money for the rescue of those besieged in cults, the victims of cults, rebuilding broken lives, investigating and exposing. I've done that. I've spent a lot of my money doing that. And I wish I had more people who are willing to contribute so that we investigate more. Much of what you see that is called religion is actually fake. Much of what you see that is called supernatural powering or powering of the Holy Spirit is actually faked up. It's not there. But I'm as a loner. When we went to Busoga, remember time back, Kakande used Bukede TV to peddle his fake cannibals. You remember the fake cannibals?
Yes,
Costas would park at Kakande's place, Kubiri synagogue. These are cannibals whom he had cured. Yet it was all fake. Then I got a tip-off. I wanted Bukede refused because they were getting money from Kakande. I wanted Monitor, New Vision. New Vision said, I can only pay the money. UBC TV, they refused. Monitor, they had a lot of injection. So it is only NTV which agreed to work with me. And I traveled the Emma to Muisiwe. Now when you reach Iga, before Iganga, I think, is it Iganga? Yes, I think it's Iganga. Then you turn left. When you cross the railway line, that's where we went. In there, we found people who were ready to come in and fake miracles. And they told us that Kakanda had been paying them. We pretended to also want to fake up miracles. So they told us, how many people do you want? Then I asked them, how many can you raise? He said, even if you need 10,000, we have a lot of poor people here. You just promise them 100,000, 200,000, they will come. If you want him to pretend to be a witch doctor, he'll pretend. A cannibal, he'll pretend. If you want him to pretend to be a lamb, he'll pretend. A leper, he'll pretend. A madman, he'll pretend. Oh, man, the woman, she'll pretend. A prostitute, she'll pretend. So I have the video footage for that. I was so shocked. Because it is now business. You pay people to come, pretend to be cannibals, then you claim to pray for them, then they give testimonies that they've been cured of cannibalism. And then more people flock your church or flock your session for deliverance, and then all you do is to tap for money from them. That is what Kakande was doing. We exposed that. When you Google that video, NTV investigates, you'll see it. When we exposed the Kakande, he stopped using Ibukende TV. Agatari Konfufu. He stopped using Agatari Konfufu. Then you remember his own TV because he had a amount of money from the trick. Stopped using Ugandans to fake up miracles. He went to Kenya. When I talked about Kenyans, I think they stopped. He now gets people from Zambia and from Zimbabwe and from those other countries because he now knows that if he uses people from Uganda, I may have the capacity to go out and look for them and then finally come and expose that no, it is fake, it is false. So now he brings in foreigners, and you people must understand, even if Bazungu are poor, they are poor Bazungu, poor white men who cannot even
Many of
afford raising $100. They are also beggars. If we can tap into those and then bring them, for you see a Muzungu, you think every Muzungu is wealthy. Yet there are so many poor Bazungu. Okay? So now, don't believe. That's one way of what we call manipulating. Manipulating using testimonies that attract more. And the more people that come, the more money he raises, that he can now afford to follow them, to fundraise with dollars, so that they buy for him a vehicle. He's promising them empty air, that if they buy for him a vehicle, they contribute to $300. Whoever contributes will be able to achieve his dream, whether it's for buying a plane or buying a yacht or buying an aeroplane or building a mansion, all that. These people actually fake people like that. They manipulate them. But I'll tell you more about manipulation.
Yes, Pastor Mai right there explained to us lots of information about cults in Uganda. Yes, back Pastor Mai. Go ahead. Continue, Pastor Mai. Continue.
Yeah. I proceed?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I call this... we proceed?
Please go ahead.
I was saying exploitation, a group that is exploitative. Let me just put it this way. Look at all the pastors we have, or the clergy we have. When you read the Bible, Jesus fed the 5,000 poor people who could afford a meal, who went to him. Jesus fed the 5,000 hungry people. That is the Bible. He fed another 5,000. But you see, the Bible was only counting men, not children, not women. So let's assume he fed 20,000 hungry people. Jesus fed 20,000 hungry people in the Bible. Today, it is the hungry, poor, and desperate who feed the rich, greedy popes in the pews in the names of pastors, prophets, apostles, and so on. The money you see there is from chapati makers, prostitutes, charcoal sellers, border riders, taxi drivers, some employed housemaids, married people who have set up small shops, poultry keepers, and so on and so forth. They get their little savings, take it to the fraudster. And what does the fraudster do? Buy posh vehicles, build castles and palaces, buy expensive wear, okay, build buy powerful cars, take their children for studies abroad, and then groom them into their heirs. Show off their spouses, show off their wives, like you see man called Bujingo showing off his beautiful queen. You see the attire they've put on, that cannot be cheap. You can't just afford it. But who are servicing the lifestyle of these pops, prosperity pops today? It is the desperate people, it is the sick who turn would-be money for medication, and they divert it to service the lifestyle of these prosperity pops. The prosperity pops end up being richer as the desperate continue dying and languishing in poverty. That is unfortunate. That is unfortunate and most unfortunate. See how they clothe. See how they don. How are the followers dressed? In tatters, patched shoes, patched trousers. Okay, those are the prosperity pops that we have, not only in Uganda but the world over, whether Nigeria, whether Ghana, whether Sudan, whether Europe, whether the US, whether India, all are like that. They are all thieving prosperity pops, manipulating
Thank you so much,
followers,
Pastor.
exploiting them, they themselves becoming richer and richer. Yes.
Pastor Ma, thank you so much. It has been
Hello?
a really nice. Thank you so much. We are getting back to the studios. Thank you so much, Pastor Malen. I've really enjoyed the 4 episodes so far we have had with you on CULTS. Of course, we have had other episodes, but I've been enjoying the 4 so far we have had on CULTS, especially the examples you give. I have to come in briefly. You talked about Kato Mukasa, and I was like, my namesake was involved in scamming people. I want to make it clear that I want to make it clear it was not me. I was not part of that church. We just shared them. But I'll go on YouTube and check out that very clip. First of all, I want to say, and of course, request that in the next episodes, we are going to play your videos. I want to say that in the next episodes, going forward, we are going to get those videos of yours to show them to our viewers. The videos you have that are exposing fake miracles, staged miracles, those videos of busting staged miracles, a video like of Kato and others. Those videos have gone to the field with the NTV, with other news anchors to expose fake pastors, fake miracles, fake churches. We shall need those videos to play them to our viewers so that they can be able to see exactly what you are saying. I know these things are there, but of course our viewers in Nigeria, our viewers in the US, UK, wherever they are, they want to see exactly these things happening. Because when we say these things are real, people think we are simply saying words, but of course these are real things. You talked about someone pretending to be a sick person, pretending to be a witch doctor, pretending to be this and that. I mean, these are real things. I want to thank you so much because it has been very, very educative. We want to get this kind of series into photographs we have gathered, into videos of gathered. People can be able to see them. They'll be able to actually appreciate your work more. Me, I've worked within Uganda for so many years. Of course, I've seen you working for so many years. I appreciate your work. I appreciate your ministry of awakening people. What we are doing is empowering people psychologically. You are awakening people. If you had you doing this work for more other years to come, you don't know how many people you're going to save out of being conned. We need you to support us, to support people, to support communities, empower people in your own way. We appreciate it. So going forward, Pastor, we are going to request you to organize these videos. You'll share them with our producers. We shall continue sharing these videos with our viewers in the next episodes. We shall now look at these videos you have documented, the photos you have, so that we can put your work on the screen. Apart from you speaking, you want to put your work on the screen. People see exactly what have you been doing. If you have had these people defiling our children, for example, I know I've been talking about homosexuality, we have been talking about defilement of children. We need to get some of these documentaries done, and we show them to the people so that we don't look like we are witch hunting people. We are talking ill against pastors. We want to show them evidence, because I know you have this evidence. If the police hasn't helped us, at least let us out to them. Let us show them to the world. Let the people see that these things happen in our country, and you are the man at the forefront of fighting them. So thank you so much, Pastor Male. And of course, for today, you have summarized the public definition of witchcraft, the anthropological definition of witchcraft, and of course, in other series, we talked about other ways of understanding cults. cults, of course, not witchcraft, but cults. The theme has been on cults, and we shall continue. I want to assure our viewers that we shall continue with this education of cults. But of course, we shall also go into other aspects as the pastor will have the time for it. We shall go into other aspects, but we have been talking about cults. Perhaps in the next episode, we shall continue with cults, but also look at the evidence which Pastor Murray has gathered over the years. We show the public this evidence. Like we talk about going to that district of Wiyukwe and others to showcase fake miracles. People are willing to come and say, look, if you pay me, I can go and be a miracle worker. I can be a testimony myself, because people are poor. So we want to show this evidence to the public, whoever is watching us, to know that Pastor Murray is not attacking pastors for the sake of it. He's not witch hunting them. In fact, he has evidence. I know he has evidence. That's why I work with him on this kind of program, because I know it's credible. But I want you to even show us exactly some of these evidences we have got to our viewers. Pastor Man, as we conclude for today, preparing for future shows, I would like you to give us your parting shot for today. And then we are going to promise our viewers that in the next episodes, we shall now be able to show them videos and some photos of the works we have been doing over the years. Back to Pastor Murray as we conclude.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a long session today. Sorry, electricity internet work, but I hope toward the end it has not been that bad.
Yeah,
gadgets are poor because I'm also poor Murray. But I try to use my small poor gadgets. This is my small phone, which I use. It's not very powerful, so it's been disturbing me. I have very poor tools. I'll be able to acquire sophisticated ones, better ones, so that we can do better and commendable work. Let me tell you, cults are real. They know no level of education. Secondly, even if you're well off, they don't know you cannot fall victim. We are all gullible. It depends. I don't think the late I don't think most of the people who have fallen victims ever knew they would fall victims. Many actually in the beginning couldn't even think they could fall victims. I don't think that Dr. Isaac Newton Ojok, Professor Isaac Newton Ojok, had ever sat down before and thought about joining a cult. He only found himself in a cult because circumstances dictated that he becomes part of the Alice Lakwena Holy Spirit movement. There are many people who have gone to Kakandes, but who never wanted to go to Kakandes, but they've ended up going there because of circumstances. So that's why in these only cults, but with also real life issues that can help you avoid circumstances. Help you through. Guide you through. There's a song, guide me through, oh great day, this earthly life. Short of that, everyone can fall a victim. I remember Senator Ryan of the US, who fell victim to the Jim Jones cult. He had gone into rescue. He ended up a victim. But the people who he was rescuing included pensioners, educated, professors, doctors. Remember this woman, she was Professor, I think he was Professor Mutibwa. Is it Professor Mbowa, Makerere University, who was ransacked by an semi-illiterate pastor Pastor, I forget his name, of Glad Tidings Church in Kalerwe, Pastor Sozi, Stephen Sozi. He not only sexually exploited, but he financially exploited her and ruined her totally. She died with Fesambo. Now, if a professor can be hoodwinked by a honest food dropout, how all of you out there? So I believe we need these sessions because everyone is gullible. If you are not a victim today, you may be a victim tomorrow. That's why I'm saying we need to be of cults. And I pray that God continually guides you through. It's not over. We've handled today the second, the third definition we've may God bless and be with you. All I'm telling you is be diligent, be on the lookout. Don't hate me for telling you the truth. Just appreciate that the truth is saying what you don't want. Hate me if you want, but I believe when you're finally through, you love me. Not because you are infatuated, but you love me genuinely, that I've guided you through this earthly life. Well, especially when it comes to spiritual matters, because we need to understand, no matter how well rooted or how big or powerful a group may be, it can be a cult. It can be cultic. It may be destructive. It may be dangerous. It may be exploitative. But all the same, you need to know the truth, because Jesus said, if you know the truth will set you free. That's why I and my brother Kato strive and struggle to give truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That is what the land friends say. This is the whole truth. This is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. May God bless you. Cheerio. We meet next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Pastor Mali. Thank you so much. We shall meet next time. Of course, Pastor Mali will be back to continue with episode 5 on the cults. See you in the next time. Pastor Mali's phone numbers are right there on the screen. His phone numbers right there on his screen. Is a farmer, and of course is a poultry farmer. You can support him. You can send him a donation to get his gadgets to be able to do a better job. You see, our online interviews are always challenging because he doesn't have very good gadgets. You can support his ministry by supporting him get gadgets, and of course you can also support his business. And of course, he's writing books. Yes, Pastor Man is a writer, and of course, the farmer. Some of the books are right there. So that is Pastor Male. Please let us keep in touch. See you in the next show. Bye-bye.
Bye.